I am back. So we're back. This is the second part. This is the extra credit portion of chat number 157, and this was January the 19th, in case you're watching this with us later. Oh, and they're all saying hi. Betty says hi, Lynn says hi. They're all saying, oh, he's waving at you all. Okay, so this is part 2. This is the extra credit portion, and we are going to go back this week. We're going to finish talking about, so we started a couple of weeks ago. We started, yeah, and Sandra John saying hi. So we started this WW over the last 6 decades, you know, kind of discussion. Tonight, we're going to talk about the 1990s, like the 1990s and the early 2000s. Next week, though, we're going to be doing everything Super Bowl. So we're having the playoff games today, and I'll tell John, he's wandered off now, so I'll tell him that everybody said hi when he comes back. But next week is everything Super Bowl. We're having the playoff games today. So next week, we're going to be cooking. So don't know whether or not WW has that in their plans for next week, because I don't get my weekly until Tuesdays. But we are talking about all things Super Bowl next week. So I already have a bunch of stuff planned for us to make. So if you want to cook, you're going to want to come next week. But to finish off our series on WW through the last 6 decades, tonight we're going to talk about the 1990s and the 2000s. Once I have all of this put together, then I will do a blog post on IfYouHaveAnEgg.com. I will, where does this, the Packers are packing and going home. Oh no. So I'll go back and I'll try to go, you know, from the beginning to current, you know, all in a blog post. It's impossible to do it in just, you know, just our chats, you know, because we could literally take weeks to go over all of them. But I really want you all to see where WW started, where Weight Watchers started, and versus where we're at today. So the first 2 weeks, every program that we talked about the first 2 weeks, super constrictive, a lot of rules to follow. I think a lot of weird planning, and Alicia wants to know if anybody can remember when WW sold frozen meals at the meetings. No, never saw that. That's so weird. Frozen. How do they even do that? But super restrictive, super constraints, you know, like constraints. Weird foods. I mean, I consider them to be weird foods. It was just, you know, tight. It was just tight. And I think the math was crazy, you know, like you couldn't do this until you did this, and this. So at some point in the 1990s, somebody at Weight Watchers went, hello, these people need to be able to eat real food. You know, if they're going to be successful, they need to be able to eat some real food. So in the 1990s, one of the first things that came in was, in 1995, they introduced a program called Fat and Fiber. That is the year that I joined. So I joined in 1995. Casey was almost 2. That was the first year that I joined. So 95 to 2019, I'll just let y'all do the math. What is that, 24 years? So 1995 was the first year that I joined. Casey was almost 2. And they had just introduced the Fat and Fiber program. So Fat and Fiber was meant to reduce the amount of fat that you ate and increase the amount of fiber. Let me just say, if you go from nearly no fiber to the required 20 grams a day for women, you're going to lose some weight. Just going to say you're going to get rid of some weight. Okay, so a lot of people thought that in the beginning, because people were losing huge amounts of weight that first and second week, people were losing huge amounts of weight. Okay, that was because we got rid of, you know what I mean, everything that we had been, you know, building up. Yeah, and Lynn's exactly right on that. So, and Vicky just had her birthday, and it felt wonderful to be lifetime and healthy for a year. Awesome. Yeah, so she just had her Weight Watchers birthday. That is awesome. So in 1995, they introduced that. You had to have a minimum of 5 servings of fruit and vegetables. And this, again, we had the little check-off box things, you know, and the little trackers where you marked all the boxes off. Men had to have a minimum of 25 grams of fiber. Women had to have a minimum of 20. Okay. I know a lot of people that were doubled over in pain, having some major problems because they went from a handful of grams of fiber to 20. 20 is a huge amount of fiber. Yeah, and Teresa's right and Barbara's right. Exactly. That's a huge amount of fiber, okay? Especially for people who were not used to eating very much fiber. And then you had to limit your fat to 35 grams for women and 45 grams for men. Again, that's not a lot of fat. You could have 2 servings a day of dairy. You were supposed to have 2 servings a day of dairy, but don't forget, if your dairy had a certain amount of fat in it, then you had to count that towards one of your fats. So, and I know, and JJ misses the boxes to check off. I kind of do too. I kind of like filling in the dots. That's another reason why I do still do some paper tracking, because I miss marking things off with my hands. And you could not have any refined sugar or alcohol until you were done eating your minimum amount of fiber. So that one was meant to, the amount of fiber was meant to fill you up so that you weren't hungry for so many other things. But a lot of people, I don't know, I mean, we did okay on it, but Karen and I joined, quit. It was another hard one to keep up with, but at least they were headed in the right direction, trying to get us to be more mindful of our health, the food, of eating food, and the health benefits. So less fat, more fiber. Then in 2008, 2009, they introduced Flex Points, if anybody remembers that, and that is the US version of Flex Points, not the UK version of Flex Points. The UK version of Flex Points came later, but 2008, 2009 was the introduction of Flex Points, and we had a handy dandy Weight Watchers Flex Point slider. So I wish I had one of those. I've been trying to find one, but on eBay they're like $20. But I've been trying to find one so that we could use it, during this chat. But it's a handy dandy slider, and it's just like a little cardboard pouch. And you pulled a slider thing in there, and it had little windows in it. So the way you use that was, the very first column was your dietary fiber in grams. So you found how many grams of fiber it was in the first column. Then in the second one, you moved the slide until the amount of calories, or as close as you could get to the number of calories, was next to the gram. Oh gosh, Tay still has one. And Carol still has hers. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I couldn't find one. But then you move the slider so that the calories match up, the amount of calories match up with the number of grams of fiber. And then in the third one, you find the total fat grams. So whatever the total fat grams were in the third column. And then you look, and there's a range. So you've lined all these little things up. And then you have a range over here. It'll be like 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, whatever. And it'll tell you how many points it is. So you just look over there, and it has a whole range. And so it was super easy to use if you had the nutritional information. So if you had a packaged product, like this, and this is not, Land Lakes, but so like this packaged product, because you knew what all of those things were. And so you would slide it and you could find it. Okay. But it took forever. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Karen is right on it. She's right at what I was getting ready to say. So she says it was a nightmare trying to figure out foods in a store. Exactly right. So, now we're walking around scanning everything, which is awesome. But then, you were having to slide it. But a lot of people had great success with it. Lynn lost 80 pounds on that one. It wasn't so restrictive. You had a little bit more freedom. As long as you could figure out what the nutritional information was, or had the nutritional information, you could definitely do that. But it wasn't quite so handy if you didn't have the nutritional information. Then in 2011. So after you've filled up on fiber, and again, gotten rid of everything. So after you've done that in the mid 1990s, then you've gone to the slider and you're doing all this hard math. So talk about being hard to track. Again, a lot of people were very successful on it. Karen and I had mixed success on that. Lost a lot of weight, gained a lot of weight, lost a lot of weight, gained a lot of weight. As long as you had time to figure everything, you could be very successful on it. And again, it all is moving towards this, better, healthier eating. So instead of just saying you have to eat liver, you have to eat this, you can't eat this before this time of day, you have to eat this after this time of day, instead of so many rules and regulations, it's all, again, moving us towards eating more real food, things that are better for us, things that are lower in fat. I don't think it's any secret. I don't care what plan you're on. I don't care what diet plan, a diet or an eating plan or a healthy way of living, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. I think we would all agree that the less fat that you put into your body, the better. The more lean meats, fruits and vegetables, especially, healthy grains. I think we all agree, no matter what program we're on, that's a good idea. So and it's still called Weight Watchers at this point. They're moving towards it, and they're tweaking and honing in on what is the easiest way to do this. So because you have to be able to be successful every day, all day, not just on the days that you have time to be successful. Okay. So then in 2011, they introduced my favorite, Points Plus. Points Plus. So we got a little calculator, and I have one, and I forgot to bring it down here, but Points Plus was introduced. I made Lifetime. I got to goal and then made Lifetime on Points Plus. Still my favorite. It is still my favorite program, but I've circled back around now that we have Team Green, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. But that was my favorite. It was based on protein, carbs, fat, and fiber. We still were not calculating calories. So protein, carbs, fat, and fiber. So we've still got the fat and the fiber from the fat and fiber, era. We're still talking about proteins. We're still talking about, Jackie's got two of the calculators. We're still talking, and it's so funny because it looks like a little tiny birth control thing, I think. Anyway, sorry. But, and we're still talking about, up in the fiber, go down, lowering the fat, up on lean proteins, good carbs, but down with, bad carbs. So still moving around that. So the simplest way to explain it is the more protein and fiber that something had, the more protein and fiber it had, the lower the points were. Okay. But the more fat and carbs it had, the higher the points were. So, so at this point, it didn't matter what the calories were. It literally was about those 4 things. And Lynn said, Points Plus, she lost that same 80 pounds again. Yeah, I lost 50. So I lost 50 pounds on Points Plus. And, and it was 50 pounds that I had never lost 50 pounds before. The most I had ever lost was like 20-25. So 20-25, gain them. 20-25, gain. 20-20, gain 30, lose 20, gain 25, like this. So I lost 50 on Points Plus, got to goal, made it to Lifetime. Here were the things that I liked about it. Power foods. So you had power foods that you were able to use to supplement things. And again, power foods were the things that you'd expect them to be, like, more fruits and vegetables. All fruits and vegetables were now 0 points. So remember, there was a time when one whole banana was 2 points. So half a banana was 1 point, a whole banana was 2 points. Gwen to this day, our fearless leader Gwen to this day, still splits a banana with her husband. Because back in the day, half of a banana was 1 point and a whole banana was 2. So at this point, all fruits and vegetables except for starchy ones, and bless its heart, the poor avocado. I don't know what avocados ever did to anybody, but they were still not 0. So starchy vegetables and avocados were still not 0, but everything else was. You got more daily points. So I think on the slider, that was 18 points maybe. So the minimum went up to 29 with Points Plus. And it could be higher. But here was one little caveat. So I guess more and more people were getting to where they were not coming to a meeting. So you had to go to a meeting to find out what your exact points total was going to be. Now, you only had to go to one meeting, but you had to go to a meeting. So there was nowhere online that you could look. There was no book that you could look at. Your friend couldn't calculate your points. You had to attend a meeting, and they had a chart, and they would look up a couple of different variables. I think it was like your height, your current weight, and your age, maybe, I think. And they would come up with what your points value was. And it started out pretty high for some people, but the minimum, like the least it would go to after you had lost, so much weight, the least it would go to was 29. And there is some mental, I don't know, happiness or something about having more points. So how you would calculate your points. So you literally could either use the pocket finder or the companion book. So we had all these cute little books. You know, we had a really cute binder that you could put them in, and the binder had all these little like stretchy, like elastic loops and stuff in it, and you could stick your calculator in there. And I think it even had like a little mesh bag or something, but you could stick your calculator in there, and you had all these little books. You know, you had all these resources that you could use to go back, and so you could go back to your pocket finder or your companion book, and you could look up points for things. So that was one way to calculate the points. The second way was to look them up online, and we're going to circle back around that to a second. And the third one was to use the points calculator. So that little calculator, yes, and it was blue. So we had that little square calculator that was about this big. It was blue, and it opened up like that. And when you turned it on, it wanted to know, it asked you all those questions about protein, carb, you know, how many grams of protein, how many carbs, how many fat, and how many fiber. And then when you put that in, it would give you a total. So it would give you a total number of points for that serving of whatever that was that you were getting ready to eat. You would just jot it down, or you would record it online. Okay, so they also had Simply Filling. This is when Simply Filling was introduced, so that you didn't have to track. So if you were following Simply Filling, it was more fruits and vegetables, whole grain, carbohydrates, some super lean meats, but Simply Filling, you didn't have to track. So I know a lot of people that had great success with that. I tried Simply Filling for 2 weeks and gained weight. I can't be trusted. So, you know, we were talking in the first half of this chat about setting yourself up to be successful. Boy, howdy did I set myself up. So, you know, willpower or no, that was a setup for failure for me. And Carol Lou is exactly right. She said it was called Core first. Yeah, it was Core. And then they named it, so many people liked it, they named it Simply Filling. But bonus, the barcode scanner and eTools was introduced. So remember when I said that you could look up things online? Suddenly we had the ability to look up the points of things online. Okay, that is, and I forgot to mention, we had 49 rollover points, 49. So that was when the internet went crazy with recipes you could find, and it wasn't this liver pate jello stuff like they had, you know, back in the 70s when we were talking about the weird recipes. But suddenly, I mean, seriously, the internet went crazy with recipes, crazy with people writing down what they were eating, giving you ideas, you know, lots and lots of ideas with the points already calculated. So the good news is I lost 50 pounds on Points Plus, got to goal again, got to lifetime status. Here's the bad news. I was eating mostly processed foods. So I was eating Fiber One bars every single day because they were only 2 points back then. I was eating snack bars probably 2 and 3 times a day. I was eating prepackaged meals. I was eating Smart Ones every day. I mean, I don't even want to know what my sodium level was back then. Yes, I lost a lot of weight. Was I as healthy as I am now? No way. There's no way. So I was thinner. I was thinner than I am now. Because I've adjusted my goal weight up 10 pounds from when I was on Points Plus. My lifestyle now and my parents' health, I can't do all that processed food. So I was eating 2 to 3 snack bars a day, a Fiber One bar every day. Almost 100% of what I consumed came out of a box, came out of either a box or a plastic container. So yes, I lost a lot of weight. Do I miss that? Yeah. But I don't miss all the processed foods. Do not miss it. So fast forward to now, or closer to now, they went from Points Plus to Smart Points. And I know the journey from Points Plus to Smart Points was painful. It was painful for a lot of us. I'm not gonna lie, and I have told Gwen this on multiple occasions, that when we switched from Points Plus to Smart Points, I dug my heels in. I was like, you can't make me go, you can't make me go, you can't make me go. So I kept a lot of my old Points Plus recipes that I'd gotten from like myself, Drizzle Me Skinny, the ones that I had calculated from Skinny Taste. So all of the ones that I had calculated, that I had already calculated or I had saved, I had made a ton of those index cards, those recipe index cards that I like, even though they weren't really recipes, because again, I was eating a ton of processed foods. I mean, a ton of processed foods. But I had all that information. So I was either eating out of a box, eating out of a plastic container. It was going in the microwave. Nothing was getting cooked on top of the stove, in the stove. We didn't have air fryers back then. So when we switched to Smart Points, I was like, not doing it. I am not doing it. I had a meltdown of epic proportions. I did not want to do it. I did not want to buy in. I wanted my Points Plus, and I didn't want to change. Well, guess what? I tried it and I liked it. I liked it a whole lot. And I started cooking more, and I started making real food more. And I learned how to adjust my points, and I learned how to fill up on things that would have been considered free or 0 points on Core or on Simply Filling. I learned how to start eating some of those things. I learned how to eat tofu. I learned how to eat lean meats. I learned how to make some vegetables. I learned how to prep a little bit. I learned how to, and I already said it, so Smart Points was where I learned this. Smart Points is where I learned how to hashtag bulk it up. I can't tell you how many times I thought that I was okay eating a snack bar and a clementine, and that was a meal. That was an entire meal. Okay, that's not enough food. I wasn't eating enough food. I wasn't filling up. Yes, I was very happy about my weight loss, but I wasn't happy because I wasn't filling up. I was hungry all the time. It was empty calories. So Smart Points, I finally caved in. I finally started doing it, but I did have to raise my my goal weight by 10 pounds. But you know why? I was eating food. I was eating actual food. I was happier. My hair, all of a sudden, is long. So I had to keep my hair shorter when I was on Points Plus. My nails didn't grow like this. I did not have healthy nails. My gut wasn't as healthy. My stomach was torn up all the time. I weighed less. I weighed 10 pounds less, but my stomach was torn up all the time. I was eating Rolaids and Tums and anything I could to make my to keep my stomach from churning, because I was eating so much processed foods. I was swollen all the time from eating salt. Anyway, so Smart Points was a great change for me. Then everybody knows we switched to Freestyle Smart Points. So talk about shaking it up, son. So Freestyle was an effort, I think, to get a lot of us Points Plus girls, people who were stuck on Points Plus. I think it was to shove us into eating some real food. So Freestyle was all about healthy eating, healthy things, pushing those lean meats, pushing the fruits and vegetables, pushing the, healthy grains, things like that. But a lot of us, again, just, couldn't grasp it. A lot of y'all have done really, really well on Freestyle. So I'm going to skip Freestyle because that was a whole, if you all did Freestyle, you already know, but that was a whole, drama, year and a half or almost 2 years that I would just rather skip over. Now we are back to WW My Way, the 3 plans. So we've got blue, green, and purple. Blue is Freestyle. So for those of you who are doing fabulously on Freestyle, you were cruising through it, you were loving having all those 0 point foods, Freestyle, blue is for you. It is. And Lynn says real food for real people. That's exactly what it is. So when we switched to Freestyle, I preach that all the time. Freestyle, for me, I thought the plan was great. I loved how many 0 point foods we had. I loved having tofu as 0. I loved having chicken breast, turkey breast. I love having all those things as 0 point foods. But it just didn't quite fit my lifestyle because we're on the road all the time. I did not want to go back to processed foods. Don't get me wrong. Even though I kept holding on to Points Plus, I did not want to go back to my 100%, 95% processed food life. So I really wanted Freestyle to work for me. My lifestyle did not work with Freestyle. A lot of you, it does. You just have to have a little time to meal prep. You've got to have a little time to grocery shop. You have to have a little time at home, or wherever you prep your food. So blue on WW My Way, blue is Freestyle. It is Freestyle. It's 200 200 0-point foods. It is awesome for people who have just a little bit of time to prep. Purple, I'm going to skip over green in a second. Purple, in my opinion, is for people who loved core or flex point, or core or freestyle. What am I saying? Core or simply filling. Sorry, my brain just went chick. Purple is core or simply filling. You don't count. You don't have to track anything if you don't want to. You have 300 plus 0-point foods. You can have popcorn, you can have air popcorn, you can have whole wheat pasta, you can have rice, you can have potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, beans, you can have all that kind of stuff. Don't have to track it if you don't want to. So it is, it is an awesome and amazing plan for people who have lots of time to prep. If you've got lots of time to cook, if you eat most of your meals at home or you're preparing most of your meals, purple is perfect. Okay, and a couple of people saying that we're frozen. I'm going to keep talking because I have just a second, just a minute left of things to say. So purple is perfect for you. Green girls. So my team green. Those of us who still held on to points plus, like we were still holding on to it. That's green. Green is the closest thing to points plus that there is. But it's still though, the way it's changed just a little bit, it still though is geared towards healthier eating, real food, not processed food. So let's not go back to the processed food. Let's not go back to the eating everything out of a box. There's nothing wrong with occasional, with like filling in with those things, but let's not go back to the everything out of a box. Let's not go back to the everything out of a can. Let's eat some real things. Put them in the clear container so that you can see them, you can find them. You can go ahead and grab them. That they're easier to grab. Grab and get. So that is it. I rushed through the 2000s, but we have come such a long way from the liver and tuna and from those days of being forced into some foods to the weirdness of the 70s. The 70s were such a weird time, into the 80s, 90s, and now onto our healthier eating plans. So I just encourage you to remember where we've been, how far we've come, and where we are now. It's not just about weight loss. Sure, it's great and awesome to lose weight, but it is also about healthy living, and it's about a lifestyle that you can maintain. You have to be able to do this every single day, so you've got to pick the plan that's right for you. If you're still unsure which plan, go back. We've got a chat for that. We have a chat for all of that. So I'm going to remind you to do your homework. If you're watching this later on YouTube, and don't forget, next week is Super Bowl Sunday. We're cooking the whole time. We have a whole lot of stuff to make for next week. So don't forget to join us for Super Bowl, for our prep for Super Bowl Sunday. But if you're watching this later on YouTube, go ahead and watch the next video up here. Down here, you can subscribe. Don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll be notified the next time a video comes up. And over here, John's doing this for the bell because we have a bell in the showroom that we're at now. And over here, you can order a Spreadshirt if you want to go ahead and support Casey and I in that way. Don't forget your digital downloads. Those are on the website, IfYouHaveAnEgg.com. Super easy, super cute to use. And I think Dusty is passed out. He is sacked out, so we're not going to say goodnight to him tonight. But everybody have an awesome week. If I didn't get to say hello to you, hello. I will see you next week. Don't forget to do your homework. Good night, everybody.